Hey YouTube, it's Annabelle. So this week's video is going to be on baby's routine and their natural routine and how to adjust that routine to fit the routine and the schedule of your family. And the first thing that I wanted to say is that every baby is different and every family is different. Every family has their own way of doing things, their own schedule, their own everything. And how your baby is can be different than somebody else's baby. And there's lots of people that will give you lots of advice on how to do things and how to parent. And this is just how we did things with our daughter and how we are planning on doing things with baby number 2 once he or she decides to make his or her appearance in this world. So anyways, I wanted to clarify routine and schedule. Okay, so I have used the word schedule in several videos in the past, and that was not the correct term that I wanted to use. I actually wanted to say routine. I actually looked up the definitions of schedule and routine, and through the classes that I've taken and the seminars that I've attended on early childhood education and everything like that, everything points to having a somewhat set routine that is flexible is the best thing for baby's growth and development. Children know what to expect, they know what's coming next, and they know that they can trust you. So I've done videos on sleep training and things like that, and there's a lot of people who don't like those terms, and a lot of it is because people don't like schedules. And so the definition of schedule is an order of events that is timed, like their start time and their end time is a specific time. Now, whereas routine is just a sequence of events that happens in generally the same order, generally every day. If you think about it, it's kind of like what your morning routine is. What do you do when you first wake up? What does your morning look like? How does it go? The morning routine with this baby is going to be different than it was with my daughter, because my daughter, when she was 6 weeks old, she went to daycare. And she was in daycare until she was about nine and a half months old. And this baby will not be going to daycare because I am a work-at-home mom this time around. So the thing that was different with my daughter versus this one is that we spent the first 6 weeks of my daughter's life trying to get her morning routine into the routine that it would be once I went back to work and she went to daycare. So what is your baby's routine? So by looking at your baby's natural routine, you can kind of figure out if changes need to be made. Now, some babies come out and they just go with the flow and there's no real adjustments that you have to make. Their schedule is already perfectly in line with your own. Some babies are on the complete other end of the spectrum and they do not do anything that the parents want them to do. My daughter was about middle of the road. We did have to adjust her natural schedule to fit our schedule, and so I'm going to talk about how we figured out what her natural routine was. Okay, and her natural behaviors. Okay, so already now with baby number 2, there is a pattern of sleep time and awake time, and the awake time is getting longer and longer. And what I noticed with my daughter right after she was born is that her sleep-wake pattern followed what she was actually doing before she was born. So with this baby, we're definitely paying attention this time around to baby's sleep and awake patterns now. And so most likely after baby is born, he or she will have similar sleep-wake patterns that they had before they were born. So we're going to be paying attention to that more closely because we are almost 33 weeks along. So we're going to be paying attention to that. So what happens after baby is born? Okay, so what the nurses and my doctor recommended to do is have a notebook or a sheet of paper or kind of like a daily diary of what your baby does. So when they're sleeping, when they're eating, when they're changed, all things like that. So what we had, and they started S1 in the hospital, we wrote down when baby started sleeping, when baby woke up, so how long they were sleeping. We also wrote down eating. I was nursing, so they had me write down which breast she had nursed on and for how long. And also changing what time the baby was changed, if it was a pee or a poop diaper. So when we went home, my doctor wanted to see at upcoming appointments that same thing. He wanted to see when she was eating, when she was sleeping, and what her diapers were like. So we were already writing that stuff down, and we kept pretty detailed notes just in a simple notebook, a spiral notebook that we just wrote the date on, and then we just wrote down her natural schedule. When she was hungry, how long she ate, how much she ate, things like that. And it depends on if you're bottle feeding or if you're nursing. Nursing, you just want to write down the time. And if you're bottle feeding, write down the ounces and also the time of how long it took them to drink it. That's what my doctor wanted to see for my daughter. So we did that for the doctor for the first 6 weeks. And by that 6-week appointment, he was like, I don't even need to see it. She's perfect. But we did keep doing it. And through that documentation, we found out several different things. We were writing down whether or not she spit up, how she was sleeping, and things like that. And we found out through this documentation many, many different things about our daughter. We started finding out when she needed to eat more. So when we needed to go from 2 ounces to 3 ounces in her bottle. We also found out that she was not sleeping well on her back, laying flat on her back. So through this documentation, we figured out that she needed to be swaddled at nighttime only, and that she needed to be sleeping at a 45-degree angle. So we had her sleeping in a bouncy seat in her pack and play, and that is how she slept best. And so this simple notebook and this simple documentation, whether your doctor wants to see it or not, I would definitely recommend for figuring out your baby's natural routine. So what we did with the information is we found out, again, several things. So in the first 6 weeks, we wanted to prepare our daughter for me going back to work and her going to daycare. So I kind of found out the daycare schedule. I tried to keep noise around as much as possible during the day to help her get ready for all of the noise and everything that would come from being in a daycare. And just all of things like that. Our morning routine, we started to get up when we would have to get up for me to go to work. We started actually doing everything that we would do before we would go to work and daycare. So we got up, we ate, we got dressed, all of that kind of stuff. We incorporated that before the day that we went to work and daycare. So she was already adjusted to that. Now, going from work to being a work-at-home mom, I followed the same schedule that the daycare did for a while until we found what routine fit best for us. And once your child gets old enough, it's always a good idea to do a picture routine, where it's just a picture schedule of everything that we do. And we actually have one up on our wall now. So we have that she wakes up, she does her morning routine stuff, so she goes potty and she gets dressed, she brushes her hair, we eat breakfast, we get ready for the day, we have playtime, and so on and so forth with lunch and snack and supper and then bedtime routine and things like that. And it's all detailed in pictures on the wall, and we have just a little arrow that we move from one thing to another so she knows what's coming next. So that's how we do her routine now, is on the picture schedule routine that we have up on the wall. But anyways, so what we are taking from this and going to use our experience with this with baby number 2 is we will again be doing a notebook. We are going to write down like eating, sleeping, changing, playing, how baby does at bedtime, all of those things we're going to document in a notebook again. And since every baby is different, we are going to then see if baby's natural routine needs to be adjusted at all. I will have to begin working again at home, so we are going to have to adjust baby to kind of how things are going and what our family functions like and things like that. So we're going to have to look at if there's any fussy times, if issues are coming up like during outings or after eating. All of that can be figured out through simple documentation. I would definitely recommend video monitors so that way you can see what baby's doing when you're not in the same room with them. It seemed with our daughter that it was kind of like a 3-day rule, or it took us about 3 days to get our daughter adjusted to something new or something different. And it took us about 3 days to figure out problems or issues in her schedule, where we tweaked stuff a little bit, found out if it worked or not, and just the whole routine has just been so beneficial for us. I actually used kind of the same system when we started potty training our daughter, and she will be 2 this month. So that is very exciting, and she's been fully potty trained for over a month now. And we used, when we first started doing poop training and things like that, we did do the same kind of documentation. We wrote down what time she was going to the bathroom in her diaper, and then we were trying to put her on the toilet a little bit ahead of those times, and everything just worked out and flowed together, and now she's potty trained. So the same concept can be used in several different ways as your baby gets older, and whatever you need to figure out. If baby's constipated, maybe you need to document what they're eating, just different things like that. So definitely with baby number 2, we're going to start with the notebook, find out baby's natural routine, and then look how it needs to be adjusted, if it needs to be adjusted at all. And how we adjust schedules is we always look at ourselves as parents first, and then we look at the environment. And also, one thing that I have learned with routine and just behavior and rules and those things in general is that you have to pick your battles. Is it really necessary that you eat at 12 o'clock every day? Or if your child is hungry at 11:15, can you make it work that you just change your lunchtime? Just different things like that. Just learning how to pick your battles is a big part of parenting. And as my friends who have older children tell me, that it gets even more and more important to pick your battles as your child gets older. So anyways, so just remember that every baby is different and every family is different, and the routine and schedule of one family could look completely different than the routine and the schedule of another family. I do not agree with people who say that if you put your child on a routine or a schedule that they will flip out if anything alters that schedule. Some babies, yes, are like that. However, with our routine and how our family is, we are very relaxed about things, but we still make sure that we get the things done that we need to do during the day. And our schedule or routine can vary Sometimes my husband gets home early, sometimes my husband gets home later, and my daughter is very well able to adjust to time changes in her schedule. If we're out at a family function like we were this last weekend, my daughter's nap got pushed way back, but she was still comfortable with that because her attention was on my cousins and their children and all of that kind of stuff. And so by the time we were ready to leave, it was 2 hours past her bedtime, her nap time in the afternoon, and she just passed out, and so we just moved her nap time back, and she did wonderfully, slept through the night that same night and all of that kind of stuff. And I just think it's because we have established a routine. She knows she can trust in it, and she knows what's coming next. So anyways, so that is my video on routine. If you have any questions or comments, if you want to like kind of see an example of our notebook or anything like that, I think I explained it enough. But if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. If you agree with me or disagree with me, please leave them below as well. I'd love to hear your comments. You guys have a great day. Bye, guys.